3 shocking hours of insane stalker horror stories to haunt you forever in the rain. The night was drenched in darkness. As thunder roared, a single street lamp flickered, casting an eerie glow on the empty street. A chill ran down Martina's spine, her breath quickening. Was it just the storm? Or was something more sinister lurking in the shadows? Stories floated around town about the figure that watched from the dark corners, their piercing gaze following you, waiting for you to make that fatal mistake, to look back. Once you caught a glimpse of them, your fate was sealed. It was said that 3 hours was all it took for someone to become their prey. Just last week, old Mrs. Henderson down the road claimed to have seen a tall shadow lingering near her porch. She spoke of a figure that felt too familiar, too close. "I think I know them," she whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Then there was Leonard, the quiet kid from school. Everyone knew he was odd, but one night he disappeared without a word. Rumors spread that he had been seen in a local park, moonlit and disheveled, mumbling about someone watching him. They say he now walks the streets at night, haunted by laughter that isn't his own. His chest tightens as he feels that stare, a haunting reminder of their omnipresence. A few brave souls went looking for Leonard but returned pale with fear, saying something was keeping him from coming back, something dark hiding under the old oak tree. The rain poured harder, drumming against the windows as the clock ticked. "It's just a storm," she told herself. But every thunderclap felt like confirmation that something was out there. Something hungry. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. And just as Martina took a shuddering breath to steady herself, her phone buzzed loudly against the table. A new notification, but the message froze her heart. "I see you. I'm closer than you think." The shadows seemed to deepen around her, the very walls whispering warnings of her fate. She grabbed her jacket but stood frozen, her hand hovering over the door. What if she stepped outside? Would she find out who was watching? Was that the only way to escape the terror closing in? With a pounding heart, Martina turned to face the darkness, a question burning in her mind. Would she confront her stalker, or would she become another chilling story for the townsfolk? The door creaked ominously as Martina stepped outside. Rain lashed against her face, each drop feeling like a warning. The streetlight flickered again, illuminating a stretch of asphalt that seemed to twist and vanish into the dark. Her mind raced. What if she was making a mistake? But what if waiting inside only heightened her doom? She scanned the corners of her street, heart hammering in her chest. The chill of the air struck deep, and shadows danced along the edges like wraiths. She felt like prey, and somewhere in that darkness lurked a predator. A jolt of adrenaline surged through her veins. "I can't be scared," she whispered, as much to herself as to the air around her. Bracing against the storm, she took a cautious step forward. The wind howled, carrying distant murmurs that sent shivers down her spine. The stories of Leonard played in her head, echoing tales of those who had seen more than glimpses of what haunted their town. What if he was right? What if something was watching her now? As she moved down the slick pavement, each sound grew louder: the rustling leaves, the splatter of raindrops on her jacket. Then she heard it, a whisper behind her, low and mocking. "Look back, Martina." Her breath hitched painfully in her throat. The unmistakable tone chilled her to the bone. It echoed the very sentiment that haunted the townspeople. That fatal urge whoever lurked behind her wanted her to turn. Panic clawed at her, and for a split second, she considered bolting back inside. But something deeper pushed her onward. Curiosity, defiance, whatever it was, it stole her breath. Just as she dared to gather her courage, she heard a soft shuffle on the opposite side of the street. Her heart raced again as the silhouette stepped into the lamplight. It was hulking, cloaked in shadowy fabric, face obscured by the hood that hid its features. The figure stood immobile for a heartbeat, then turned and melted back into the void. Martina swallowed hard. "Hey!" she shouted, her voice breaking through the tension of the storm. "Who are you?" Yet all she got in return was silence broken by bursts of thunder. A voice, eerily close to her ear this time, taunted. "You shouldn't have come out." A sense of dread crushed down on her. But before she could react, the figure reemerged, closer now, eclipsing the flickering light. The glint of something sharp caught her eye. Was it a knife? Her heart dropped. She turned to flee, legs heavy with fear, and sprinted toward her home, breath coming in jagged gasps. But the sound of footsteps echoed behind her, getting louder. Martina dared a glance back, and that when she saw it. Something was there, no longer a figment of imagination. A gaping mouth twisted in a cruel smile glimmered faintly from the darkness. The figure closed in with unnatural speed, almost gliding rather than running. "Hurry! Hurry!" the voice echoed again, now sounding like a chorus, swirling around her, feeding off her fear. She fumbled with her keys, hand trembling violently as she reached her front door. It felt like an eternity before she finally got the lock to click, the cold metal slipping into a comforting latch. But just as she slammed the door shut, she caught sight of the figure outside, waiting, watching through the window, darkness swirling around it like a thick fog. What was it waiting for? Why didn't it just come in? As silence engulfed her, Martina sank to the floor, feeling both relief and terror. The storm raged on outside, but something stirred within her, a desperate need for answers. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again. Another message glowed on the screen, sending a fresh wave of dread through her. "You can't hide forever, Martina. I know everything about you." What did it mean? Who was the stalker, and how much did they truly know? With every tick of the clock in the darkness, she understood that her nightmare was only just beginning. What could she decipher? And what would she discover if she ventured outside again? Martina pressed her back against the door, heart pounding like a war drum. The relentless rain drummed against the roof, but it was the soft creak of her floorboard that stole her breath. Had she imagined it? Another buzz from her phone made her startle. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. Another message. "I'm still here." It was sent from an unknown number, but the tone felt intimate, almost personal, as if the stranger had been lurking in every corner of her life, waiting for the right moment to strike. The fear clawed at her insides, twisting deeper than the shadows creeping into her thoughts. She could almost feel the figure outside, lurking with a patient hunger. Silence engulfed her, threatening to smother her sanity. Her mind raced through the horrific tales from Leonard, tales of people just like her, drawn into darkness by their curiosity. "Not tonight," she whispered fiercely to herself. But the shaky determination felt flimsy against the storm. Glimpses of movement outside the window caught her eye. She cautiously leaned closer, peering through the wet glass. The streetlight flickered, casting fleeting shadows across the figure's form. It was still there, rooted in place, as if daring her to make a move. She swallowed hard, caught between two worlds, the comfort of the locked door and the darkness that promised answers. "What do you want?" she murmured, half expecting an answer. A slow, deliberate shift caught her breath. The figure bent forward, and she could see something glinting where its hand rested. Was that the knife? A chill worked its way up her spine, but she couldn't pull away. Part of her was trapped in a morbid fascination, while survival instincts screamed at her to hide. Martina, the voice, slithering through the cracks of her fear, sent icy fingers digging into her throat. "You're not safe in there." She stumbled backward, nearly losing her balance. "What do you know about me?" A mix of bravado and terror fueled her words. But the truth was, she felt utterly exposed. Another buzz. "You trust too easily." The words burned into her vision, echoing her worst fears back to her. Frantically, she scanned the room for something, anything that could help her fight back. Her eyes landed on a heavy wooden chair. It wouldn't do much against whatever that figure was capable of, but it felt better than facing the unknown with empty hands. She took a deep breath, summoning the remnants of her courage. If she was going to confront whatever was stalking her, She needed to do it now. Martina crept toward the door, gripping the chair firmly, heart hammering in her ears. She eased her ear against the cold wood, trying to catch any sound that would indicate what the figure was plotting next. All she could hear was the wind's wild howl, drowning out her thoughts. Then, a loud crack echoed through the air, the unmistakable sound of something hitting the ground outside. Darkness enveloped everything for a heartbeat. Did it fall? Was it hurt? A primal instinct forced her hand to the doorknob. She hesitated. Am I ready for this? But the chilling thought of being a prisoner in her own home pushed her forward. Summoning her resolve, she unlocked the door, and with a swift swing, pushed it wide open. Rain poured in like a torrent, blinding her for a moment. The street lay empty, no sign of the figure. But then she noticed it. A twisted piece of fabric caught in the bushes next to the porch. And there, half hidden in the shadows, a glint of something metallic. Was it a piece of the knife? Her breath quickened. Come out, she shouted into the rain, voice shaking, but filled with urgency. I know you're out there. Silence enveloped her once again. But just as she began to doubt the madness of it all, she heard it. The slightest whisper, so soft it could have been the wind. Stay or go. The choice so simple, yet so loaded with terror. As she stood in the doorway, the weight of it bore down like the storm above. Would she dare step further into the night to uncover the truth, or retreat into the safety of her home, drowning in unanswered questions? The darkness awaited her answer. Martina stood in the doorway, her heart thundering as the rain fell in sheets, blurring the world into a dark watercolor. The whisper lingered in her ears, chilling her deeper than the cold that surrounded her. Stay or go. The fabric in the bushes tugged at her attention, a reminder of the threat that lay just beyond her doorstep. She took a step forward, the wet ground squelching beneath her feet. Instinct screamed at her to retreat, but curiosity, an insidious little monster inside her, urged her on. She couldn't be a victim. Not tonight. With eyes trained on the shadowed edges of the street, she stumbled over the fabric, lifting it tentatively as the scent of wet earth filled her nostrils. It was a piece of clothing, torn and frayed, unsettlingly familiar. Her fingers brushed against a tag, her sister's name, Jenny. A jolt of horror coursed through her veins. Jenny had been missing for months, vanishing into thin air. Martina, the voice echoed again, now sharper, more insistent. You need to know the truth about her. Her stomach dropped as she turned, following the direction of the voice. The figure emerged from the shadows, drenched yet defined, a man, his features obscured by thick rain. He stepped closer, glistening under the muted streetlight, the knife now raised, glinting ominously. What do you know about Jenny? She demanded, her throat constricting. Was she ready for the response? How could she face whatever dark revelations lay ahead? You shouldn't have opened the door, he said, his voice low and menacing. What's behind that door holds a darkness even you aren't prepared for. Her pulse quickened, a primal instinct flooding her senses with adrenaline. She brandished the chair, swinging it towards him, but he moved with a terrifying grace, slipping away from its arc. Instead of fear, he laughed softly, a sound that curled around her spine like icy tendrils. You think that little thing will save you? Frantically, she spotted an escape route. The neighbor's yard was just a few feet away, overgrown but a potential sanctuary. But what lay beyond? Was it safety or more horrors waiting to unfold? I won't let you take me or anyone else, she yelled, her voice rising above the storm. I'll fight you. You don't understand. His tone shifted, a mocking quality slipping in. You're already part of it. You'll see Jenny again, but first you must choose. Choose? The words struck her hard, almost echoing in her mind like thunder. What choice was there? Fear gripped her, squeezing tight. She took a step back, trying to regain her footing, but the ground felt unstable, every shadow warping into something sinister. With each heartbeat, a new message pinged on her phone, vibrating urgently in her pocket. She fumbled for it, the dim light illuminating the screen. She's closer than you think. The text chilled her more than the rain. Stop this, she shouted again, desperation lacing her voice. "If you know where she is, you have to help me." The man tilted his head, his eyes gleaming with a mix of malice and pity. "Help? You'll wish you never asked." And before she could react, he lunged at her. The knife raised in a swift, deadly arc. Time slowed as she ducked, adrenaline surging through her. She rolled away and scrambled to her feet, lunging towards the neighbor's yard, the thudding of her heart drowning out all sense of reason. With branches snagging at her clothes, she leaped over the low fence, adrenaline thrumming in her veins. She had to find Jenny, had to figure out what this hell was all about. But the moment she turned, she was met by wide, unblinking eyes staring right back at her from the darkness. The figure was already there, waiting. "Let us see how far you really want to go," he whispered, his voice an echo in the chilling night. Martina's breath hitched as she scanned the surroundings for an escape. In the relentless grip of night and rain, fear tangled with resolve, she had to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. But at what cost? The weight of impending doom loomed over her as the darkness closed in, thickening around her like fog. What had she really gotten herself into? Martina's heart raced as she pressed her back against the damp wood of the neighbor's fence, peering through the sodden darkness. Visibility was near zero. Every shadow morphed into new shapes. Every rustle sent her pulse skyrocketing. She felt like prey, hunted by something far beyond her control. "Why are you doing this?" she shouted, searching for answers amidst the chaos of pouring rain. The figure before her shifted, his eyes like molten steel, reflecting the small light from the street beyond. "You'll find out soon enough," he taunted, his voice a sinister melody laced with anticipation. "But you need to grasp what you're really dealing with first." Martina shook her head, frantically glancing to either side, plotting an escape. She spotted a gap between two dense bushes. Edging toward it, she barely dared to breathe. The air was thick with menace, pressing down on her like a weight. "Run," he urged, though his voice dripped with mockery. "But remember, I'll always be right behind you." She bolted ahead, darting between the bushes, feeling the thorns tear at her skin. The world around her morphed into a blurred mix of greens and grays under the downpour. She could hear him, too close, the sound of footfalls thundering behind her. Roaring through the storm, desperate, she veered towards the back of the property, where the faint outline of an old shed emerged from the gloom. Maybe it could offer a moment of refuge, a place to catch her breath and gather her thoughts. As she neared it, the door hung slightly ajar, enticing yet foreboding with a surge of adrenaline. She yanked the door open and stumbled inside, the smell of mildew choking her senses. Barely illuminated by the dim light filtering through a cracked window, she scanned the space. Riddled with old tools and dusty boxes, it screamed abandonment. But it was the gun on the rickety workbench that caught her eye, a cold wave of relief crashing over her. Her fingers shook as she wrapped them around the cold metal. What was she doing? This wasn't her, but she couldn't let fear dictate her fate anymore. In the background, she still heard him laughing, a sound that made her stomach twist. "Martina," he called out, his voice now teasing. "You think you can escape? You're already caught in a web of your own weaving." "Shut up," she shouted back, her voice echoing against the peeling walls. "I'll fight you if I have to." "Fight?" He paused, and for a split second, silence hung heavily in the air. "You won't have to fight alone. Jenny is waiting to be saved." The name sliced through her, each syllable a reminder of the reason she fought. "What do you know about her?" she spat, stepping toward the doorway, gun raised. "Tell me." "Patience, lizard," he purred, stepping with equal caution toward the shed. "You'll know soon. She's been on the other side long enough, and now it's your turn." With that, he lunged into the shed, and the world blurred. Martina's instincts kicked in. She pulled the trigger, a deafening roar tearing through the cramped space as adrenaline coursed through her veins like wildfire. But the shot went wild, obliterating part of the old wall, the blast echoing into the night. He dodged, sidestepping her with a wicked smile as he closed in, too fast, too animated. "Now you've done it," he shouted, swinging his arm back. The knife gleamed, striking a deadly arc in the gloom. Panic gripped her heart like a vice. She had to think fast. Could she turn the gun on herself if it meant saving Jenny from this man's clutches? Just as the knife sliced through the air, the ground beneath her gave way, her foot slipping on a slick patch of mud. She fell, and as the world spun, she slammed into something solid. A new giggle echoed through the darkness, twisting into a sinister harmony with the rain. This nightmare was far from over, and as she fought to regain her footing, a new message lit up her phone. "You might want to check the basement." Martina's breath caught in her throat as confusion tangled with dread. What awaited her hidden below? She had to choose. What had she truly stepped into? What awaited her in the depths of the unknown? Martina shook her head, struggling to clear the fog of fear gripping her thoughts. Why the basement? What did he mean by the other side? The walls seemed to close in, and she instinctively stepped back, the sound of footsteps approaching making her heart pound louder. The knife glinted under the dim light as he entered the shed, a predatory smile plastered on his face. "Did you really think you could escape so easily?" he taunted, his voice slithering through the air like a cold wind. Desperation rose in Martina. She couldn't let him take her down without a fight, not when Jenny was out there. Helpless, fighting off the urge to panic, she scanned the shed for an exit. The door was behind him, but there had to be an alternative. "Where is she?" she demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. "What have you done to Jenny?" "Ah, sweet Jenny," he mused, drawing out the name like a cruel performance. "Her time will come. You'll have to hurry if you want to save her. I won't fall for your games." She lunged toward him, aiming the gun with shaky hands. He laughed, a bone-chilling sound that echoed in the tight space. "You think that little toy can protect you? You're just delaying the inevitable." In a flash, he lunged at her, knife glinting. With no time to think, she fired again, the gun roaring, but again she missed. He ducked, and she felt the air rush past her as the blade swiped dangerously close to her side. "Run, Martina, run!" a voice inside her screamed, and just like that, she bolted, adrenaline flooding her veins. She dashed toward the back wall, desperate to find a way out, just as he lunged again, his feet pounding the wooden floor behind her. She burst through the exit, stumbling into the harsh rain. The biting cold splattered against her, invigorating her senses. But there was no time to think. She sprinted toward the edge of the property, her heart racing louder than the storm around her. "Where are you going?" he bellowed, his footsteps thundering relentlessly. "You can't hide from me." Martina knew she had to get to the house. If there was any chance of finding Jenny, she needed help, a weapon, anything. The silhouette of her home barely shimmered in the distance, a faint light of safety in a world gone mad. Then, the text flashed in her mind. The basement. She skidded to a halt, scanning the ground for any sign of the entrance, the idea of it twisting her stomach. What would she find down there? More horrors? But her love for Jenny propelled her forward. With a deep breath, she dashed toward the house. She could feel him closing in, relentless. The door creaked open, and she barely had time to step inside before slamming it shut behind her. Her lungs heaved as she leaned against the door, praying it would hold. "Jenny," she shouted, voice cracking with urgency. "Where are you?" Silence was her only reply. The house felt empty, echoing with shadows. Each corner seemed to whisper secrets, memories locked away. But the basement door just to the right of the kitchen stood ominously closed, teasing her with its darkness. "No turning back now," she muttered to herself, gripping the edge of the counter for support. She felt sick with dread as she crept toward that door. The weight of the unknown pressed down heavily, and a shiver ran through her. With a shaky hand, she turned the handle and it creaked open. The darkness gaped at her like a hungry beast. "Jenny," she called again, her voice trembling. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and something else, something sour. As she descended the stairs, the small bulb above flickered to life, casting ghostly shadows. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears, growing louder with each step. A figure stirred deep in the shadows at the bottom. "Martina," a weak voice murmured. Her heart soared and plummeted, the swell of hope crashing into despair. It sounded like Jenny, but the tone was low, almost pained. "Jenny!" she cried out, rushing forward. But as she approached, the figure slumped against the wall. A figure materialized behind her in the doorway. The smile that met her was not one of relief, it was the devil himself. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" He grinned. The moment stretched, electric with horror, and just then, the basement lights flickered again and went dark. What did he want from her? What lurked in the shadows? She was trapped in a nightmare, and there was no way out. Martina's world spun into a vortex of darkness and terror as the light vanished, leaving her strained breaths the only sound in the gloom. Her skin prickled with dread as the figure behind her stepped closer. She could feel his cold presence, a shadow creeping into her mind, feeding on her fears. "Look what you've walked into, sweet Martina," he purred, his voice dripping with malice. "You think you can just save her?" Panic surged within her, but she fought to control it. Turning, she took a step back from the intruder, instinctively raising the gun despite her trembling hands. "Stay away from us," she shouted. The darkness swallowed her words, and she felt a rush of vulnerability. "Oh, the little toy again," he chuckled, mocking her. "What do you think, your precious gun can really protect you? You're scared, I can smell it." The basement seemed to close in, turning the space into a suffocating trap. Martina's mind raced as thoughts tangled like barbed wire. She needed to think fast. Could she buy herself time? Just let her go. She's innocent in all this, she pleaded, desperation creeping into her tone. His laughter reverberated around the room, filling the void with an unsettling echo. "Innocent? What a quaint notion. You think your love makes you strong? But love twists into weakness. Don't you see? It hurts. It destroys. Just like the one you cherish." "Shut up," she snapped, feeling a surge of anger drown out her fear. "You're a monster." "True, and monsters always win." He stepped further into the dim light, revealing the glint of the knife in his hand. The sinister gleam rooted her fear more deeply than ever. "Now, how do you want to play this?" Martina's mind was racing. Sudden clarity hit her. She needed to keep him talking, to buy Jenny time. "Why are you doing this?" His smirk widened, and he seemed to relish the question. "Because you're all too predictable. Your heroic narratives, your desperate escapes. It's all part of the fun." Voices whispered around her, dark memories flooding her mind. She hadn't come this far to back down. "What do you want from us? Just let her go. You have me." He cut her off with a chilling laugh. "Oh, but that's where you're mistaken. I want both of you. You have no idea what lengths I'll go to." The realization washed over her like icy water. The grip of fear tightened around her heart. "What lengths? What have you done?" "I'll show you," he promised, the darkness seeming to throb with his words. "You're in for one hell of a reveal." A noise echoed from the deep corners of the basement, a shuffle, then a low whimper. Martina turned sharply, her desperate hope igniting. "Jenny?" she called into the shadows. But the figure was quick, twisting around to block her view. "Don't bother. She can't help you now. She's part of the game. Just like you." Martina's breath caught in her throat as true fear settled in. "What did you do to her?" He took another menacing step forward, his knife glinting under the faint flickering bulb. "Open your eyes, Martina. You've entered the other side. Choices have been made, and now you can't escape." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed behind him, the sound of wood splintering against the wall. A new light flared, a beam piercing the darkness. It was Jenny, bound but fierce in her struggle, determination in her eyes. "Martina, get out of here." The intruder's gaze shifted, a dangerous gleam in his eyes. "Now you've done it. You've stirred my anger. You don't know what you've brought upon yourself." Martina's heart raced, both fear and a flicker of hope igniting within her. She steadied her aim as she screamed, "Run, Jenny, get to safety." And just then, the bulb flickered again, lights swinging wildly. Would the shadows consume them both? Or could they seize the night and turn it against him? With one unsteady breath, she chose her fight. In the spiraling chaos, She faced the monster she had to outsmart before he snuffed out their last light. Would her love be enough to save them, or would they both plunge into the depths of despair? The answer loomed closer than she ever wanted to realize. The darkness closed in like a suffocating blanket as Martina's heart pounded in her chest. The flickering bulb barely sliced through the shadows, leaving dancing shapes that twisted and writhed. She could still hear Jenny's voice, strong and desperate, echoing in her mind. What do I do? Martina thought frantically, her grip on the gun tightening. She couldn't let this monster get to Jenny. Not now, not ever. You think you can just shoot me, sweet Martina? The intruder taunted, his voice smooth as silk but laced with menace. It won't end well for either of you, believe me. Martina's eyes darted between him and Jenny, who struggled against her binds, her wide eyes mirroring Martina's terror. Focus, focus, she whispered to herself, taking a deep breath. You can't give in to fear. Listen to her. Isn't she precious? He laughed, the sound a cruel mockery. But you're out of your league. This isn't a storybook, where the heroine emerges victorious. Shut your mouth, Martina shouted, heart racing. This isn't over. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, she lunged forward, using the element of surprise in the moment. The gun felt heavy and foreign in her hand, yet she steadied it with resolve. Let her go. The intruder's expression twisted into a snarl. Foolish girl, he spat, raising his knife as if to strike. Martina's heart dropped, but she forced herself to focus. In that charged moment, fading shadows mixed with a fearlessness she had never known. You think you can scare me? She challenged, stepping back to create distance. You're wrong. The room pulsed with an electric tension, the air thick with the scent of impending violence. She could see Jenny narrowing her eyes, silent communication firing between them. We'll get through this, just stay strong. Martina, Jenny cried, the raw panic breaking free. I can help. Use the lighter. In a moment of clarity, Martina recalled the battered lighter in her pocket, a remnant of their earlier campfire. It could create a distraction, ignite chaos, or she hesitated a spark of hope. Why don't I just put this place to flames? She held up the gun, eyes flickering as she pulled the lighter into view. The reflection of the flame danced tantalizingly close to the shadows. The intruder's laughter echoed, chilling her boiling determination. You think fire will save you? It will only burn brighter for me. Enough talk, she yelled, her voice trembling yet fierce, reflecting a flame of rebellion in her chest. Let Jenny go, or I'll burn this place down. His eyes narrowed, the knife poised to attack, the threat palpable. You have no idea what you're bargaining for. Martina hesitated. Would she risk it all on a chance? But as she glanced at Jenny, bound yet unbroken, the choice became painfully clear. Release her, or in that instant, the light flickered wildly like a heartbeat, and she prepared to strike. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, fusing fear with raw determination. The intruder took one menacing step forward, eyes gleaming with malice. Every choice you make leads to your doom. The flames will consume you both. What if it doesn't? She shot back, heart hammering. Then, with a swift motion, she flicked the lighter, igniting the air with a vibrant glow. A small flame sparked to life, dancing defiantly in the shadow. The blaze cast an eerie glow, illuminating the grotesque smile on the intruder's face, and in that moment, she saw a glimpse of doubt flicker behind his eyes. With one determined breath, Martina flung the lighter toward the darkness, catching a frayed edge of the old carpet beneath the intruder's feet. Flames erupted like a creature awakening, snaking toward him, but nothing could have prepared her for what happened next. His laughter echoed through the chaos, drowning out her fear, and then he lunged in a desperate attempt to regain control. Martina fired the gun, but a surge of pain pulsed through her arm as she stumbled. The room spun, the inferno roaring to life, and she found herself grasping for Jenny's hand, and then everything went black. What had she done? What had they unleashed in their battle against shadows? As the world around them crumbled, Martina felt a cold grip on her shoulder, and the nightmare was only just beginning. Who would emerge unscathed from this hell? Would love ignite their salvation or consume them utterly? The truth was lurking just behind the flames, and it was hungry. The darkness clawed back slowly, like an unwelcome memory resurfacing in one's mind. Martina gasped, consciousness flooding back with the fierceness of a tidal wave. A low roar filled her ears, the crackling of burning fabric and wood mixed with the stench of smoke. Panic clutched at her throat as she remembered the dire situation she had plunged into. "Jenny!" Her voice cracked. She blinked against the haze and the flickering shadows that danced across her line of sight. The heat stung against her skin. Had they escaped, or had she made everything worse? Fear wrapped around her heart as she maneuvered through the chaos. She felt the ground beneath her tremble and pulse like a living creature, urging her to move. With every heartbeat, a fresh wave of dread washed over her. What had happened to her friend? The thought of losing Jenny sent a chill through her veins. Her arm throbbed fiercely, a painful reminder of the gunshot. She forced herself to sit up, the world spinning as she felt the debris slide away from her. Firelight flickered, revealing charred remnants of the room, and in the murky glow, she caught sight of Jenny. "Martina!" The voice, though weak, screamed hope into the darkness, cutting through her disorientation. Their Jenny was bound but alive, her struggles turning frantic as she met Martina's eyes. "I'm coming!" Martina's voice boomed above the noise, filled with a ferocity she didn't know she possessed. She staggered to her feet, every movement fighting against the pain gripping at her shoulder. In a frenzied scramble, she rushed toward Jenny, but the sight of the intruder froze her in place. He recovered from the flames, his figure twisted and grotesque against the inferno, shielded by shadows of his own making. The fire flickered over his body, sending glimmers of orange across his face, and what she saw curled icy fingers around her spine. His eyes shone bright with a mixture of fury and twisted amusement. "You've only just begun your descent into hell," he snarled, laughter bubbling beneath his words like poison. Martina's heart thundered. "You one take her. Not now." She reached for the nearest object, a remnant of fallen wood, and brandished it like a weapon. The flare of her defiance was small but flickered with determination. "Doom is your only companion tonight," he hissed, lunging forward with the knife glinting in his hand. Time slowed, each heartbeat echoing in her ears. His movements were a flash of violence as he came at her, but something primal roared to life within Martina. She swung the wood, the makeshift weapon landing against his forearm. The knife clattered to the ground. His face contorted in shock. It was fleeting but could make the difference between salvation or total destruction. "Get away from her!" Martina yelled, feeling a surge of adrenaline power her movements. Chaos reigned around her, but the need to protect Jenny steeled her resolve. In the frenzy, she spotted the lighter on the floor, embers dancing like little stars. With a quick glance at Jenny, whose eyes mirrored her fear, Martina grabbed it, flicking it to life. The tiny flame sparked a dangerous idea. The flickering light would not only ignite vengeance, but might illuminate their only chance to escape. "Oh, you think you'll play with fire?" The intruder mocked, stepping towards her, drawn like a moth into the flame, as she aimed the lighter towards the approaching darkness. Martina's breath quickened. "Stand strong," she thought, feeling the strength of their bond surge through her. "I'll burn this place to the ground," she screamed, flicking the lighter wide, letting the fire spill into a torrent of chaos. A trail of flames began to dance around him, painting his silhouette in hellish colors. He roared, both in rage and fear, but the fire embraced him, and for a moment, they all stood still, caught in this version of hell that they had unleashed together. But just as quickly as the fire ignited, icy darkness surged around, warping the room into a nightmarish vortex. The grip on her shoulder returned, an unforgiving reminder of her reality, as haze cascaded over her. Then off to her left, she caught a glimpse of movement, something emerging from the shadows like the chilling echo of a nightmare, the source of pain she had yet to comprehend. The nightmare was just beginning. What horror awaited in that suffocating darkness? What truth would reveal itself from the ashes? The flames crackled violently, casting jagged shadows that twisted and danced in the chaos. Martina could feel the heat searing her skin, but it ignited a fierce resolve within her. She had to save Jenny. No one else would suffer at the hands of that monster. "Run!" Martina shouted, her voice breaking through the growing inferno. She glanced over at Jenny, still bound, desperation etched across her face. "Keep moving!" The intruder lurked in the shadows, his expression a terrifying mix of fury and delight. "You're going to regret this." He laughed, but the sound was tinged with uncertainty. The fire was his ultimate enemy, creeping closer like a beast hungry to consume him. Time slipped away as Martina sprinted to Jenny. "Just a bit longer, Jen. I promise." The heat stung her lungs, urging her forward with every blistering step. She reached Jenny just as the shadows began to twist more violently, the intruder fighting against the flames now licking at him hungrily. "Stay back," she warned, grabbing the remnants of the frayed cloth that tied Jenny's hands. With swift hands, she untied her sister, each knot a painful reminder of their shared torment. "We're almost free." "Martina," Jenny gasped, her eyes wide with horror. The burning embers crackled ominously. The figure was advancing again, his eyes locked on them, his hunger palpable. Without thinking, Martina flung the lighter towards him just as he lunged, catching fire momentarily before he swatted at the flames, his laughter turning into a scream. The rage fueled him, but she didn't have time to be afraid. Jenny was free. Now they had to escape. "Let us go." Martina pulled her sister's arm, and the two of them dashed out of the chaos into the open air, the rain drenching them instantly. They were outside, but the storm was still fierce, as if it too roared against the evil that lingered behind. "Martina, is he?" "Not now. Just run." They sprinted toward the street, hearts racing. She could hear his rage behind them growing fainter, intertwined with the wail of sirens approaching in the distance. Hope surged within her, the kind of fierce love that had driven her this far. Just then, they both heard it, a final roar, echoing through the night, blending with the storm. It sent shivers down their spines. "No, you can't escape that easily." It rang out, trailing behind them like a ghost. The promise of more pain echoed, but they couldn't stop, wouldn't stop. They darted down the street, feeling the safety of the light at the distant intersection. As they turned the corner, they finally reached the safety of the main road. The lights glimmered in the foggy rain like stars of a new dawn. They stopped, breathless and soaked, gasping for precious air. "Are we safe?" Jenny's voice trembled, her eyes scanning the street. "For now we need to tell someone," Martina declared, gripping her sister's hand. "We have to let people know what happened." The lights of a police car blinked in the distance, a signal of deliverance. As they made their way toward it, relief washed over her like a warm blanket. Though she knew the battle wasn't over, moments later, they met the eyes of the officers, their faces illuminated by red and blue flashing lights. "Help! We need help!" Martina's voice rang clear, and in an instant, they were engulfed in warmth, safety, and the understanding that they weren't alone. As they recounted their story to the officers, thoughts of the figure lingered in the shadows of her mind. The nightmare may have been temporarily thwarted, but the knowledge that he was still out there gnawed at her. Martina held Jenny tightly, and that fierce love within her hardened into determination. Their ordeal wasn't just a story to share, it was a call to action. She was just getting started. She would not allow fear to rule her life. She would fight back. As dawn broke, painting the sky in soft hues of color, the realization sunk in: to be strong was not just a matter of survival. It was about fighting for every moment, every person you loved. "Martina," Jenny whispered, "you saved me." And in that moment, surrounded by the emerging sunlight and the reality of survival, Martina understood that the true battle was ahead. The shadows still lurked, but they wouldn't face them alone. Their bond was a weapon stronger than any fear. Together, they would find a way to reclaim their lives. Now, as fans of their story, you need to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive tales. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of rallying behind us. Let us make our community grow. Your voice matters.